Hello, and welcome to this Foster Care Institute online training webinar, How to be an Emphatic Listener. I'm your host, Dr. John DeGarmo, founder and director of the Foster Care Institute. I'm an author and speaker. I'm a trainer. I'm a consultant, legal expert, and most importantly, I am a parent, a birth parent, foster parent, adoptive parent, just a parent. During the years, my wife and I have had over 60 plus children come through our home as foster parents. We've adopted 3 of those children, and we have been blessed to have so many children come through our home and be part of our forever family. Because every child that comes through our home, we consider part of our family. Make no mistake, with so many children in the home, my wife and I have practiced the skill of emphatic listening time and time again, and I have found it to be a very, very valuable tool. Our goal during this webinar is to increase your awareness of what emphatic listening is. It may be a term that you're not familiar with. It may be a term that you've never heard before. It may be a term where you've had some misconceptions about it. We're going to hopefully clear up those myths and misconceptions and bring clarity and, again, awareness to it. We're going to increase your awareness of how emphatic listening, what it is, and how it can help those who care for children in the foster care system. And we will learn strategies on how to be a strong, emphatic listener. Now, when you hear the term emphatic listening, what do you think of? Do you think of somebody who listens? Do you think of somebody who has empathy? Do you think of somebody who combines the two of those together? When you hear that term, emphatic listening, what comes to mind? Emphatic listening requires that we accompany a person in her moment of sadness, anguish, self-discovery, challenge, or even great joy. Let me read this again, this quote from you. Emphatic listening requires that we accompany a person in her moment of silence, anguish, self-discovery, challenge, or even great joy. And I like the word accompany a person in their moments. But let's look deeper. Emphatic listening is a structured type of listening and questioning technique. Again, it is a structured listening and questioning technique. Emphatic listening allows you, the foster parent or caretaker, to develop and enhance relationships with a stronger understanding of what is being conveyed to you, of what is being expressed to you, both in an intellectual and at an emotional level at the same time. Again, it allows you to develop that relationship with a stronger understanding of what is being expressed to you, both intellectually and emotionally. Now let's look at what emphatic listening is not. Emphatic listening is not giving advice like this. I think you should do this. I think you should probably think about this. I think you should focus on this. I think you should not do this. That is not emphatic advice. You are not giving advice. Emphatic listening is not explaining your situation. Well, I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to express that. I didn't mean to convey that. No, that's not what emphatic listening is. Emphatic listening is never correcting the person. You don't correct the person and say something like, well, wait, I never said that. Emphatic listening is not consoling the person. You're not here to console them. You're not there to comfort them. You're not there to say things like, well, you did the best you could, or, that's how it happens. No, emphatic listening is not consoling the person. Emphatic listening is not telling a story. Now, I love to tell stories when I'm training foster parents at events, or I'm delivering keynotes, or maybe my TED Talk, or in my books. But when I'm emphatic listening, I'm not telling my story, and neither are you. So you don't say something like, well, this reminds me of the time when. Emphatic listening is not shutting down their feelings. Their feelings are very, very real, and and you're not shutting them down. You're not downplaying them, if you will. You don't say things like, well, cheer up. Don't be so mad. It'll be okay. Don't worry about it. Emphatic listening is not sympathizing with them. Oh, you poor thing. Oh, I feel so terrible for you. Oh, that's so awful. No, that's not emphatic listening. Emphatic listening is not interrogating a person. No person wants to feel like they're being interrogated, importantly when they're trying to convey how they're feeling to you. So you don't say things like, "Well, how come you did that?" No, that is not emphatic listening. Emphatic listening is not evaluating or judging a person. You don't say things like, well, that's just too unrealistic. Well, that's not going to happen. That's just impossible. No, you don't say things like that. You don't evaluate or judge that person. And finally, emphatic listening is not one-upping a person. You don't say something like, well, that's nothing. You should hear what happened to me. No, that is not emphatic listening. And we thank Jaya Ramachari for sharing these with us. So, what is emphatic listening then? Well, emphatic listening brings great therapeutic value for those people, those children in your home who are struggling with challenges, or struggling with anxiety, struggling with their problems. And we all know that when a child is placed into a foster care system, they are experiencing that. They are struggling with that. They're struggling with being placed in your home to begin with. We've talked about this time and time here at the Foster Care Institute. When a child is placed into a foster care home, it is a time of great anxiety. You can put aside the feelings of the experiences of neglect, of abuse, abandonment they may have faced before being foster care. When they're placed in your home, that's a time of anxiety as well. And these children are experiencing abuse, they're experiencing neglect, they're experiencing abandonment, so much. And many times their emotions are overwhelming them. They simply don't know how to process it. Again, we talked about this time and time again here. So when you are using emphatic listening to these children in your home who are struggling with these issues, struggling with their anxieties, struggling with their emotions or challenges, this helps to bring great therapeutical value to them. It also allows, emphatic listening, it also allows these children to solve their own problems or challenges, if you will, in the presence of a caring listener, such as yourself. Emphatic listening allows you to listen to that person speaking. It allows that person, that child in your home, to speak to himself or herself, to let them hear himself talk, to let her hear herself talk. This gives her the opportunity, or him the opportunity, to better understand the challenge they're experiencing, or to better understand the problem or the anxiety that they're experiencing, and gives them some tools to help themselves. It gives them the ability to have clarity about their challenge and to better equip themselves. Now, what do you do as an emphatic listener? Well, you act as a mirror, if you will. Emphatic listening is you as a mirror to them. So why do you use emphatic listening? Why use it? When you have children in your home who are suffering from abuse, suffering from anxiety, suffering from issues of attachment or anger management or whatever it may be, why use it? Well, emphatic listening allows us, as foster parents or caregivers, to become more compassionate, to become more understanding of what the child might be experiencing, to become more patient with the child in your home who may be giving you some anxiety, and perhaps even more loving to that child. And that's what children in foster care need, right? They need someone to be compassionate. They need someone like you to be more understanding. They need someone to be very patient with them as they struggle with the issues that they're facing on a day-to-day basis. They need, as we talked about this here many times, they need unconditional love. So emphatic listening allows you to do that. It allows you to be more compassionate, more understanding, more patient, and maybe even more loving. There are many benefits to emphatic listening. For example, the emotional burdens are often lifted from the child when they're talking to you and you're emphatically listening to them. Confusion and stress is relieved when these children feel that they are heard, when they feel that someone is really listening to what they have to say. Now, those who are listened to may gain more self-esteem and they may gain more self-awareness. And children in foster care who have faced so many challenges we can't even begin to truly understand, they need more self-esteem. They need more self-awareness if they want to begin to heal. Now, most of us like to talk rather than listen. So if we allow a child to talk to us, well, they're going to feel a little bit better about it. Another benefit about emphatic listening is this. There's no sharing conversation. There's no give and take. There's no competition. As we talked about earlier, you're not trying to one-up them. You're not trying to share your own personal stories. You're not judging them. You're just listening to them. So the child is not feeling they have to share a conversation with you. They don't feel like they have to compete with you. You're just there to listen. They're just there to talk. The focus on emphatic listening is this. The focus is on the person speaking and being listened to by you. You're allowing the child to speak and you are simply listening. Well, that sounds a bit easy, right? So how do we be an emphatic listener to a child in our home who has experienced so much trauma, to a child that has experienced so much anxiety? Well, to begin with, you allow the person that's talking to control the conversation, to lead the discussion. They are leading the discussion on what they want to talk about. They are controlling the conversation with you. You're not trying to guide or steer it in a certain way. That's a different type of listening. For emphatic listening, you're just allowing them, the child, to lead the discussion and control the narrative. You are simply to remain attentive, to be completely attentive to what they are saying to you. In addition, you may ask open-ended questions that encourage more conversation, and we'll look at that in a little bit. Now, when you are emphatically listening to a child in your home, you do not interrupt him. You never interrupt that child when they're speaking, even if they say something that may be horrific to you, or frightening to you, or disturbing to you. You do not interrupt them. You allow them to continue to talk. You try to avoid offering solutions, or try to avoid giving these children premature conclusions that are not ready yet. You simply reflect upon what the speaker, the child, has told you as you listen to them without interrupting them. For some people, this can be difficult. Before I learned these skills, I wanted to offer solutions. I felt like sometimes I was interrupting, and I was. My wife will tell you that sometimes I interrupt her, and I try to offer solutions to her. So when you're emphatically listening, you have to focus upon these skills. Sometimes they don't come naturally to you. Sometimes they don't come easily to you. You may want to interrupt and offer a solution or give a conclusion to it. You may want to direct the conversation. You don't. You don't interrupt them. You don't provide solutions. You just listen and reflect upon what they've told you. Now, you should make sure the child who's talking to you should never feel defensive. So you do not, again, pass judgment upon them. You just listen. They should not feel defensive. They should feel comfortable and relaxed talking to you. Now, the child in your home who is speaking to you, they need to feel that they have all the time in the world to talk to you, to share information with you, to be open and transparent with you. They don't need to feel rushed. They don't need to feel that they can't express how they're truly feeling. They can't feel. It's important that they do not feel that they can't express their frustrations with you or their concerns or their anxieties. They need to feel completely open to you. They need to feel that they are able to completely share with you how they're feeling, even if they're frustrated with living with you, even if they're frustrated with your family or you in general. Even if they have some concerns or anxieties they're afraid to talk about, they need to feel comfortable in expressing this to you. So you do not rush them. You just let them speak. Your patience in this area is absolutely critical. It is essential, it is necessary, and it is imperative. Now, you want to make sure that you're showing empathy, not sympathy. Yes, we may have been there, the places they've been. That's right. We may have experienced our own challenges and difficulties just like them, but they're not interested in that. The child in your home who's talking to you is not interested in if you've been there, if you've done that. They want to just allow themselves to speak to you freely. So do not share your experiences unless, of course, they ask for it. Just listen. Just listen. So you might say something like this: I get it. I get it. I understand. Instead of something like this: I get it because I've been there. I've done that. I've experienced it. No, you don't say that. You simply say, I understand, or I get it. So can you ask questions? Yes, you can ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions. An open-ended question is one that allows the child the opportunity for deeper reflection, for deeper thinking, if you will. So you want to try to avoid questions that end in a yes or a no from their speaker. You avoid those yes and no answers to the questions you're asking. So what might an open-ended question look like? How do you feel about that? That's a great question to ask because it allows the child, the speaker, to have deeper reflection about how they may feel about that. Deeper insight. What do you think your next step should be or might be? Again, this allows deeper insight. How does that make you feel? How were you feeling when that happened? These are some great open-ended questions that, again, one more time, allow the child in your home the opportunity to dig deeper into themselves, to have a deeper insight. You want to avoid leading questions when you ask open-ended questions. A leading question might look like something like this. And if you had to do it again, you might do what? So you want to avoid that because this leaves a speaker wondering, well, what am I supposed to say? What's the correct answer here? What should I say? And that's what we're trying to avoid. There will be times when the speaker will offer only so much. The child in your home will offer only so much, hoping that you will pick up on some of his cues or some of his hints when he's sharing with you. So you might have to encourage for more sharing. You may have to encourage for more information. And you might ask them like this: is there more? Is there more to this? Is there more you want to share? This can open up a well of new information and of new sharing. So be prepared for that. Make no mistake, your body language is so important when you are emphatically listening to the child in your home. Your body language is important. It tells a great deal about you and if you're paying attention or not. So make sure the phone is turned off and put away. Make sure the computer is turned off. Make sure the TV is off, the radio music's off. Everything's turned off. You're looking at the child and you're leaning slightly forward. You're giving the child the attention they need. Have an open posture. Your legs and your arms are uncrossed. Sit still. Do not shift or do not fidget. Simply look ahead at them, leaning slightly forward in your chair, legs and arms uncrossed, and sit still. There are nonverbal skills you can use. These nonverbal signs, like keeping the head down or shifting away from you or covering the mouth, could signal that they're holding something back or they may feel uncomfortable. So look for those nonverbal signs. Now, the child in your home must face so much. They may share some powerful emotional insight expressing their true anxiety, their real concerns with you. They may say something like this: I am so angry at my mom and my dad. I don't want to see them ever again. Just listen. Just listen and repeat what they said. Don't offer judgment. Don't come up with your own conclusions. Don't try to one-up them. Don't tell a story that you may have had of them. Just repeat what they say. So you're angry at your mom and your dad. You don't want to see them again. Is that right? Now, when you say something like this, when you repeat it back to them, this allows a child to see that you truly understand what they're saying. And this may add to more insight for them. This may allow them to listen to what they just said being back to them, and they may give them some opportunity for additional insight. Now, this can be difficult, but it is so important. Do not interrupt. Do not give solutions. Even if you have the very best solution for them, you know how to solve this problem, but don't offer it to them at this time. You're just there to listen, because right now they need someone to listen to them without judgment, without interruptions, without solutions. That's what emphatic listening is. Listening without interruptions, listening without giving solutions, listening without giving advice. If they ask for a solution, or what do I do? Try to avoid giving them a solution right away. Instead, ask them something like this: well, what might you do if your roles were reversed? What might you do if you were in your parents' shoes, so to speak? When you're listening to some of these stories, if you're like me, when I hear some of these stories that these children have gone through, I'll be honest, it angers me. It angers me how some of these children have been so abused, so neglected, have been abandoned. Some of the experiences these children have felt, yes, it stirs my emotions. And it probably does the same for you. When you're listening emphatically, it's important that you keep your own emotions in check. You do not allow yourself to become emotionally involved. And this can be difficult. It's difficult for me. Remember, what you're doing here is you're just listening. You're understanding first. You can evaluate later on. Right now, you're just listening. And when you allow yourself to become emotionally involved, then sometimes you might pass judgment, or you might pass a judgment upon the child or even the birth parents. And they don't want that. They just want you to listen. Sometimes listening means embracing the silence. Just embrace the silence. Allow the child to be quiet. It may seem awkward. There might be long pauses. But these long pauses might be the opportunity for the child to process what they're feeling right now, to process their emotions that have for so long overwhelmed them. Now that they're able to finally express how they're feeling to someone who's truly listening to them, that pause, that time of silence might be their chance to process, to finally understand what they're feeling. So your silence is a sign that you are willing to wait patiently. You are willing to just let them have that time. You're not rushing them. Remember, you don't want to rush it. There's no time limit here for them. The child is free to go at his her own home pace. They're free to take the time that they need to understand what's going on inside of them, to understand what they're feeling. Now, now we know about privacy laws. When a child is speaking to you, they may have shared very important truths and information with you. You cannot break their confidence. They trust you. Do not break their trust. Respect their confidentiality. Respect their confidentiality. Now, to be sure, they may share with you some things that you do need to report because you are a mandated reporter. And we talk about that here at the Foster Care Institute. But when you're listening to them, don't interrupt. They shared some important information with you. They trust you. Do not break their trust. At the same time, as a mandated reporter, you have to protect yourself and the child, and you may have to report some of this information. Many times the child will come to their own conclusions, their own solutions. And they've done this because you have sat by patiently and quietly and allowed them time to think about it. They can get that valuable clarity that they need, and they may find some relief by talking to you. Now, after the conversation is finished, the dialogue has been exhausted, if you will, it may be time now to offer some solutions, to offer some suggestions, if you will. But before you do that, ask beforehand if the child would like you to give some advice, if the child would like you to give some suggestions. You may say something like this: "Thank you for sharing all this with me. I appreciate it. I understand. Would you like me to maybe give you a suggestion? Or would you like some advice?" If they say no, that's okay. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Then say, "Okay, no worries." At the end of your discussion with them, ask if they have any comments or questions for you. Is there anything else you have? Do you have any questions for me? You may say something like that. If need be, set aside some time with the child again to talk about this. Thank that child for being open, for being honest. You say something like this: "Hey, thank you so much for sharing this with me. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for spending this time talking to me. Thank you for spending this time sharing this and being open with me about this. I really appreciate it." Emphatic listening is not easy. Emphatic listening is important. Emphatic listening can be challenging to the listener. Emphatic listening is healing for the speaker. Emphatic listening is a skill that foster parents need to practice. Emphatic listening is a skill that children in foster care need to have their foster parents use. So practice it. You might want to practice emphatic listening with your own spouse or your own partner, with a caseworker or a friend of yours. Practice this skill before you sit down with the child in your home. But keep this in mind: the child in your home, they need you to listen to them. And they need you to do so in an emphatic way. Hey, if you've not checked out this book, The Little Book of Foster Care Wisdom, 365 Days of Encouragement and Inspiration for Today's Foster Parents, I encourage you to pick it up You can get a signed copy of it at the Foster Care Institute. It's a great little book to have at your bedside table to pick up every morning or every evening. It offers daily tips, daily quotes, and offers suggestions and inspiration for today's foster parents. And we have many great books at the Foster Care Institute. I'm sure there's a book there for you right now. And of course, you can find so much more. Follow me on Facebook at Dr. John DeGarmo, Foster Care Expert, at Twitter and LinkedIn at Dr. John DeGarmo, and YouTube. If you have any questions about this or anything else, please email me at drjohndegarmo@gmail.com. I want to thank you for listening to this webinar today. I want to thank you for listening to the children in your home who need someone to listen to them. You might be the first person who's ever really patiently, quietly listen to them in a non-judgmental fashion. Again, keep this in mind. They need you to do that. And they need you to do that today. For the Foster Care Institute, I'm Dr. John DeGarmo.